Hey guys, just wanted to say I'm still donating 50% of the profits of my channel to the United Cajun Navy. They do such amazing work, and it is such an honor to support them. It's all made possible by you, my viewers. We have an amazing story here for you today, and if you like it, please be sure to give it a thumbs up, comment your thoughts down below, and subscribe for more. I'm really hoping to get to 10K subscribers by the end of the year. Now on to the story. Am I the a-hole for wanting a normal Christmas tree? This disagreement involves myself, 46M, my wife, 40F, and my youngest daughter, 15F. My view. We have decorated for Christmas using the same decorations since before our oldest child was even born. I feel that the decor and the act of decorating is and has always been a part of Christmas. Prior to my daughter taking issue with this, she was the one who helped me set up my Christmas village each year and would tell stories for the little townspeople. Everyone loved the decorations, and the majority I'm sure still do. But we haven't seen those decorations in 4 years. Many decorations hold sentimental value for me and others in our family, including first Christmas photo ornaments and homemade ones my children have done over the years. I believe that far and beyond the majority of our Christmases have been wonderful and happy, and I feel that it would be good for my daughter to hold on to those memories rather than throwing out the entire affair. My daughter's view, supported by my wife. Due to a tragic event that took place on Christmas a few years ago, my daughter feels strongly against decorating for Christmas. She does still participate in Christmas activities, so I don't see her aversion is as severe as it is made out to be. Last year, she came up with a compromise, and rather than using our decorations, she and my wife used nature-inspired decor that did not specifically invoke Christmas, but was wintry. We had flora and fauna. While it wasn't quite what I wanted, I was happy to decorate again. This was also agreed on during a therapy session she invited us to. I wasn't too happy about the idea my daughter needed a mediator to speak with me, but at least it got her to agree to some decor. And it was explained that my daughter refers to our decorations as triggering this year. I thought she might be ready to bring out some of our decorations, but instead she tells me that she and her mother have decided to do spider-themed decor. She said she's not sure she'll ever be ready for our decorations again, but explained to me about this Christmas spider story she heard and said the decorations would not be spooky even though it will be spider-themed. I told her absolutely not, that I understand she feels triggered by Christmas and has her reasons, but avoiding the decorations won't help her. I also told her if Christmas was really the problem, I do not see how she can participate in any activity she happily does throughout the season, and why we don't just cancel the whole affair. Spiders are not even close to Christmas/winter decor, and I can't compromise to that like I did with the nature decor last year. She started to cry, which I obviously feel bad for. My wife is angry with me and says my daughter does struggle with the entire Christmas holiday, but is trying her best and truly trying to be considerate by using these off-Christmas decor options because she feels guilty for preventing us from decorating. Relevant comments. The reason, it's a doozy. I want to preface this by clarifying nothing directly happened to my daughter / as far as I know, she did not directly see anything, but she was present in the home. Her aunt took her own life when she was supposed to be with the girls, my daughter and her daughter, who were best friends. They haven't seen each other since, on Christmas Eve. The only direction I've been given from the therapist was last year's compromise. I admit I'm a bit hazy on how her aunt's death has affected her or why it has created this aversion to decorations specifically. More about what happened. This goes into more detail. For a while following, my niece did not want to see anyone. Then she was swiftly taken out of the country by her father following the funeral. Her father also attempted to block contact with my daughter and wife to his daughter. My wife has not pressed the issue. As I understand it, my niece and my daughter have managed to circumvent her father multiple times over the years. Fake socials, sneaking phone calls, but it is a secret from her father, and therefore they have not seen one another. Whether her father knows something I do not, or due to his trauma simply can't handle seeing my daughter, is not known to me. My daughter told us that she and her cousin were watching a Christmas movie in the living room happily at the time. As I understand it, her aunt built them a blanket fort, made snacks, and once the girls were settled in for the movie, she snuck into the basement. My daughter did have some self-blame initially, but my wife was able to explain that her aunt had planned out every detail, to the point of installing a lock, a simple hook and eye. Adults could get through easily, but not children. On the door that would keep the girls from making the discovery. Has the daughter been diagnosed with anything? There are a lot of these. I am not sure where the idea I do not know what my daughter's diagnosis came from. I said I did not believe PTSD was among them because I hadn't heard it, but I wasn't sure if it had been added or should have been. Initially, we were told she had depression, but later an anxiety disorder was added. I believe she must have had the anxiety from the start, but we weren't aware of it as a specific and separate diagnosis. Her diagnoses were made by a general practitioner. Perhaps they were not qualified to diagnose PTSD or more complex mental illness if that is a diagnostic requirement. She certainly did not see any previous therapist long enough for a diagnosis in this case either. Her current therapist, I am fairly certain, does not have the credentials to allow for diagnosis, but currently sweets her as she is at least willing to go and take her medication regularly, which she had not done in the past. She talked about Christmas decorations in therapy. I explained the event in another reply, however, she was never sent to therapy specifically for Christmas-related issues. She just brought it up with her therapist last year, and it became a focus. I'm not sure how she feels about it in general. It seems that our house, which is where the event took place, being decorated as it was at the time is most offensive to her. However, I do know that she has refused invitations from older siblings to go on a yearly carriage ride offered in our town to see the Christmas decor and festivities. That said, she does come to Christmas dinner/family homes, which exposes her to Christmas imagery. I do find she's lethargic after visiting, but that is typical for her year-round. She's introverted. Several people ask why he didn't include the above info in the OG post. If I am withholding anything, it is because I did not recognize it as relevant or due to limited word count. I do not view the only good thing of my daughter's therapy as getting to decorate. This mediation was the only time I was invited into a therapy session and was specific to Christmas. This is not the reason she began therapy, but came up in a session, and I believe that having decor as we did in her, I believe, happy younger years was a good step for her. A few extra comments where he almost sees the light, but then doesn't. I do now understand that this has come off as me being dismissive of my daughter's experience, which was certainly never my intention, and I will accept that. I do believe her trauma is valid. I also admit I do not understand it. I grieve deeply. At the time, I apparently had a depressive episode following, but even that I do not understand. My daughter and I both loved Christmas and loved to decorate. To me, it seems that avoiding Christmas or designating our decorations as negative/triggering it reinforces that they are somehow to blame and will cause the association to stick in her mind forever. I understand that it may have come off that I am prioritizing decorations over my daughter, but that is not how I feel. All of my children, but my youngest especially, loved Christmas, and it was traditional for us to all decorate together. I believe that treating Christmas negatively and erasing those many happy years spotlighted her trauma more. I also genuinely do not understand how decorating with Christmas spiders is not triggering if decorating is the trigger. One more about the house and himself. We could not afford to move if we wanted to. We are not a well-off family to begin with, and the last few years it is a seller's market. However, our house is not desirable, nor could we afford a new place from what we could get for it. This house was built and inherited through my wife's line. I genuinely admit that I do not get mental illness at all, and I am not proud of that fact. I was diagnosed with a mental illness-related episode and do not even understand what I experienced in all honesty. My wife has always been a mother first, and I admire her for it. I know I am not the greatest father, but I truly feel my wife is on another level and was meant to be a mother. She understands the children in a way I don't think I could, and they've always been their mother's children, not one daddy's girl among them. However, I do find that because of this, my wife is inclined to defer to our children's feelings/wants/needs above anyone and everyone else. I've often wondered what would happen if the need of one child conflicted with another because of this. As for how they feel about Christmas, the eldest two are moved out and only one decorates for Christmas while the other celebrates solstice. They are the only sibling my daughter accepts invites to seasonal events for. They do some sort of log burning and games, while the other still at home has only ever insisted on getting to make cookies and gingerbread houses, which my daughter accepts so it does not hinder them. It happened so slowly over the years, I did not realize this until my wife mentioned it, but she stopped doing everything. Whether it was because of my daughter's triggers or my wife's isn't clear. Both of their therapists have been working on the resulting attachment issue. As an example, my wife went out with a friend for tea for an hour recently for the first time in years, and my daughter was simply directed to try and not contact her mother for at least half an hour. My wife not being available to my daughter for that short amount of time was very difficult for my daughter, and my wife came back reporting that she couldn't stop thinking about our daughter and felt panicked/worried for our daughter's safety. She obviously did not tell our daughter this and recognizes this as unhealthy even when she is at work and our daughter is in school. They are in near constant contact. AITA originally decides there is not enough info for judgment before comments. Then YTA. OOP's older daughter posts her take in the comments here. Hey Reddit, I am the heathen child who does it up winter solstice style whom Opie mentioned. My dad gave more than enough detail for me to make the correct, I hope, or else that's one major coincidence, and I'm an ass assumption that this post is about my family and specifically my beautiful little sister. Firstly, I will give my judgment. You got this one right, Reddit, and Dad, you are the ass, YTA. Absolutely, fully, and majorly. Christmas decorations aren't what we love about Christmas. Abby's most loved part is probably the dinner when we all get together and laugh and eat and enjoy ourselves. Mine is just family in general. Christie's is definitely gouging on cookies, and baby sister is all about giving gifts, not receiving, giving. She has always been the most sensitive and empathetic to others, so when we feel, she feels, and strongly. Remember how you felt when Annie died? She felt that too, and just as strongly as you did. But she was downstairs looking at the decorations, feeling it while you disappeared. That was hard on all of us. We thought we were going to lose you the same way we lost her. As long as those decorations were up, was as long as we were holding our breath. It was scary. While those decorations were up, she lost her aunt, her best friend, and thought she might have lost her dad. That's three really big, scary, and traumatic things that those decorations saw, and that she saw those decorations during the course of. They came down near the end of your major depressive episode, when you started coming out of your room. So maybe she made a connection there, or at any other time throughout that highly stressful time. The decorations went away. Dad came back alive. The decorations were there. Auntie left, and her friend left. Yes, I know, you know, and she absolutely knows logically that the decorations didn't do that. But our brains make associations and see patterns in everything, even if they aren't logical. That said, I did want to address some recurring points and topics. I also wanted to explain to my dad this whole situation in a format where I can't be interrupted. The backup might be a little unfair. The aunt whom we tragically lost to mental illness was in fact my father's sister. I did see some assumptions, probably well-founded with how detached he comes off, that this was my mother's sister, but that is not the case. She was deeply loved by her nieces, and I know my father did love her too. Thank you to everyone who has offered their condolences. I truly appreciate it. I've been told my entire life that my dad is doing his best as a parent. After seeing this, I, for the first time, full-heartedly believe that is sadly true. Those who have pointed it out are correct that my dad suffers a deficit in emotional intelligence and empathy. When he says he doesn't understand, that isn't an excuse, it is true. He has always been that way, but I always believed he could try harder. He just didn't want to. I feel deep sadness reading this now and oddly empathy for him. I have also been well trained to empathize with him and see how he turned out this way. Something I don't believe he is even capable of. This man will tell me about the Christmas his father wrapped nothing but empty boxes for their one and only childhood Christmas as a prank, which he was forced to unwrap every last one, and he'll tell it like a fond memory. Even the part where his father put dog biscuits in his stocking, which he was, you guessed it, made to eat. This story alone, I feel, explains my father's stunted development in parenting and why my aunt's husband got the hell out of Dodge. My dad is right that my sister, thank whatever deity or power you believe in, did not see our aunt after she had passed. While she could not win her battle, she did her best to protect my sister and her daughter by locking the door and using a quiet method. That feels kinda shitty to say. I find it quite difficult to address this myself. I'm actually shaking as I type this part. She did know at the time. I remember that night vividly myself. As someone mentioned, the sneaking suspicion something wasn't right had to have set in with the girls, because I remember them tugging at the basement door, and I remember my uncle dragging all us kids into another room when they forced through the door. What I also remember specifically and importantly is that the decorations stayed up for much longer than usual. The entire time they were up, my dad, OP, was catatonic and confined himself to his bedroom. It was at least a month before he even came downstairs again. That night was the only time I think any of us saw our dad cry, and he bawled, which is completely understandable, but also really hard on kids, especially young ones like my baby sister. Those of you saying you completely understand how he couldn't compromise with gasp spiders. A few nice people have shared the folklore behind the Christmas spider, and I strongly suggest reading it. Now, something I find particularly interesting here is that my dad talks about the sentimental value of our decorations, specifically the ones we made. Guess what? My sister was hand-making her spidery Christmas decorations with zero spook involved. It's things like spider webs made from hand-strung beads and ribbon, spider snowflakes a la Jack Skellington, and spiders made from fake pearls and iridescent beads. I also wanted to make it really clear. I didn't see too many comments like this, but maybe it's the protective sister in me that this felt important. None of us feel put out by our sister's trauma. The second youngest, who is still at home, didn't have to fight for cookies. She just said, "Hey, I know Christmas is hard for you. Are you good with cookies and gingerbread houses, or is that too much? And the answer was that edible Christmas delights were okay. We invite her to the Christmas events, even the ones she declines, because maybe one day she'll say yes, and we want her to have the option when she's ready. Update on the original post. Edit. The contents of my original post can be found in the automated comment below or under my profile within a locked thread. The gist of my behavior and my daughter's experience, including detail of trauma related to a family member's self-delete, can be found under my profile throughout various comments. My eldest daughter has responded to this post directly in a well-detailed and thoughtful explanation of why my behavior has been deplorable. This response carries with it further information on the events following the tragic loss, as well as responses or answers to recurring questions. I am not sure how to link the comment here. She begins it with an introduction of herself as my daughter. I believe that I understand, to some extent greater than before, what my daughter has experienced and how the death of family has affected her as well as me. I appreciate those who have responded, and I've gathered that the nature of my post and description of my conduct has been upsetting for many. To those who offered perspective, I thank you, and to those who were hurt or deeply upset, I do apologize. While I cannot honestly say that I fully understand or that I am clear on how mental illness affects people, this may not be something I will ever comprehend. I understand that mental response during a stressful or traumatic time is not always based in recognizable logic. In my daughter's response, she explained this in regards to how our brains seek out patterns, but thinking back, this was explained previously, and just as well by others. I just did not process the information I was being given. Individuals have reached out to me to inquire as to whether I have any diagnosis of my own that would explain how and why I behave as I do. Some of the diagnoses posited have also been speculated upon by those close to me before, and I've realized that I identify with some diagnostic criteria for these diagnoses. I will look into this further for the well-being of my loved ones. I was never of the opinion that my daughter was intentionally being difficult or falsifying her experience, though I do understand that I, in many ways, came off in this light. I also strongly disagree with any comment in my favor which disparage my daughter or her character. My eldest response highlights that my daughter is a sensitive person, something I must be understanding and conscious of regardless of how I experience stimuli and events, and something which I believe may be a similar comprehensive difficulty for those ruling to my view. My eldest made a comment that responding to me in this forum was an opportunity to speak and be heard without interruption. That was admittedly difficult to accept, but I can see a direct line between her statement and my youngest needing a third party. As I understand it, my use of the word mediator was in poor taste. To be present, I will not be engaging further with replies to my comments, this response, or my original post. I am not sure if this action is against the rules of the Reddit given that the voting was completed, though I seem to have been misplaced as the replies indicate I belong squarely within the asshole category. Thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed. Please be sure to give this video a big thumbs up, subscribe for more stories like this, and comment your thoughts down below.